Hey, it's Pastor Greg here again. It's so good to see you. We are going to get into our message, the last message of our series, Why We Sing, in just a few seconds. But I wanted to talk to you about something we do here at CSC. You might see the sign behind me that says, leave your worries at the door. And what we do, we invite everyone that when you come into this space, when you come into the door, we know that you have many burdens, challenges, difficulties, problems, and worries that may be going on in your life. And so we invite you to write them down. Write them down so that as you're in the service, write them down so as you're here to receive something from the Spirit, you can hear exactly what the Spirit is seeking to speak to you. And so for those of you that are a part of our online and virtual community all across the globe, we invite you to do the same thing. And so if there are any challenges, difficulties, anything that you want to overcome, something that's going on in your life, send us an email. Send us an email to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org, and we will hold the vision, God's vision, love's vision of your life for your healing, your transformation, for change in your life. We look forward to hearing from you, and again, as always, we hold the highest vision with you, knowing that you are the very magnificence of God. So let's get into the message. Be well. That is why we can sing with assurance that all of life is a movement toward our wholeness. And that is why we need that reminder over and over again. All of life is a movement toward our wholeness. All of life is a movement toward our wholeness. Last time, all of life is a movement toward our wholeness. Yes. Good morning, Celebration Spiritual Center. It's so good to see all you beautiful people. How you be? Good. It is so good to have you here. I'm going to dig right in because I'm very excited about this message. I've been excited all week. Pastor Yolanda can tell you. First, as always, we'll just start with a review. And so in week one, the topic was, are we there yet? And we actually looked at nature. We looked at bamboo, recognizing that many times in our lives, as we're moving through our lives, we feel like, we haven't made it, and the journey feels long, and it's like, am I there yet? I thought I would be a spiritual master by now. I thought I would have it all figured out. And what's interesting about bamboo is that bamboo is something that in the first 4 years of its life, it's just a nub. It doesn't look like much of anything, just a nub. But what it's doing in those first 4 years is building an elaborate root system. And then in its fifth year, it can actually grow 8 feet in 24 hours. And so we recognize that maybe when we're feeling like we're not where we're supposed to be, maybe it's possible that we're building a root system. And so I invite you to go to that message and look at what roots are and what they represent, and why roots are necessary. In the second week, we staged a prison break. Using the song Reveal Your Greatest Life. If you are alive, your dream has not died. But how do we do that? And I recognize that we need to break out of the mental prisons that we've put ourselves in. And so we used the formula of creation and talked about that thought with emotion plus expectation, that's your desire or your belief, equals manifestation. And when you understand that formula for how life is created, then you can uncreate whatever you want or continue to create more of what you desire. Last week's topic was, it's a matter of trust. Recognizing that there's so much that seems that we should be fearful of in this world right now, with everybody's talking about Ebola, and if it's not Ebola, then we're looking at the fact that the NSA is spying on everyone, and privacy settings on Facebook. There are all these things that we are supposed to be afraid of and seemingly can't trust. But what I know to be true is that there is something that we can trust. And so we look to Psalm 23, the beautiful poem, which ends, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. When you understand who and what the all is, when you understand who and what God in you as, you recognize that you don't have no need to be fearful of the Ebola posts you see on your Facebook timeline, because you know who and what's holding you. And we also looked at that translation from the Message Bible, that your beauty and love chases after me. And that's the truth of our life. And so if beauty and love is chasing after me, why am I afraid of Ebola? Really? Beauty and love is chasing after me. That's my home. That's where I live. And so this week, as Pastor Yolanda shared with us, the topic is let me out. I had a different topic previously, but I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was remembering how, as we go through our lives, many times we we dial back. I mean, maybe it's just me. That's been something that I've done many times in my life where I kind of dial back who and what I am because I don't want to, outshine someone else, or I don't want people to think, oh, well, who does he think he is, and all of these things. And so I kind of don't bring all of who I am. But the beautiful thing about life, and this is what I said to her, I said, the beautiful thing about life is that life, who and what we are, is constantly screaming, let me out. And so no matter how much we try to push that down, life, who you are, the truth of you, is constantly trying to come forward and come forward. And so that looks like situations, circumstances, and experiences that we don't like, sometimes that feel difficult. But what I know to be true is that there is something within each and every one of us that won't allow us to settle. There's something within us that is greater and grander even than anything you've already experienced as yourself. Because I see amazing people here in this space right now. You've achieved and accomplished amazing things. And still there is something within you that is greater and grander than that. Life is always calling us for more. That's the lyric in the song. Can you hear the knocking at your door? Can you hear life calling you to more? We are expansive, creative beings, constantly seeking to express that which is all. And so it's never limited. No matter what we've done, no matter what we've accomplished in our lives, if we say, oh, I'm done, it is finished, you've now made an agreement with limitation. And the universe is unlimited. Therefore, there must be more. And so as I thought about that, and I thought about this song and the call to remember that all of life is a movement toward our wholeness, it brought me to a story that I love. It's from a children's book that a beautiful soul gave to me some years ago, about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And it's a Native American legend, and I want to share this story with you all because I think it's a powerful teaching story. It's a children's story. It's a legend. And it's called The Story of Jumping Mouse. And so the story of Jumping Mouse, it goes like this. There's this young mouse, and he lives in the brush by the river. And he, like all young mice do, they run around and they collect food and then they go back home. And in the evening, the older mice tell stories. They tell stories about the shadows in the sky, and they tell stories about this far-off land beyond the desert. And for this young mouse, that's the stories that he loved, because the stories about the shadows in the sky was a little scary. But the story about the tale about the far-off land always got him excited. And he felt like, one day I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to this far-off land because this just sounds amazing. He loved it so much that he used to dream about it. And finally, that dream got so real for him that he said, I'm going to go. And he got up before sunrise one morning and decided to set off to this far-off land. And so as he moves on to this far-off land, he gets to the edge of the brush, because the brush was by the river, but it was a long journey for a young mouse. And he gets to the river, and now he's stuck because he's a mouse. Mice can't swim. He doesn't know what to do. He's traveled a long way even now. He's done more than many have done before, but now he's at a crossroads. What do I do? And so he hears this voice, and this voice says to him, don't you know how to swim? And he says back to the voice, well, swim, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And it was a frog, and the frog jumps in the water, in the river, and begins to swim all around to show him what that is. And he says, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to swim. And so this frog introduced himself, and he said, well, hi, my name is Magic Frog. What's your name? And he was like, well, my name is Mouse. And he said, well, Mouse, that's not a really good name. He said, I'm going to give you a new name because I'm Magic Frog, and I'm going to call you Jumping Mouse. And immediately when he called him Jumping Mouse, his feet changed. And he commanded him to jump, and he jumped. And he said, jump again, and he jumped up higher, and all of a sudden he had this new ability. Now what's beautiful about this, even now, just as the young mouse decided to do something different than all of the other mice had done, decided not to listen to the story about fear and, oh, there's all this stuff going on way in the far-off land, he developed and acquired a new ability by taking that risk. Do you hear that? Okay. And so now he has this ability to jump, and so the frog says, jump on this leaf, and I'll push you across the river. And so the frog takes him across the river, and as he gets to the other side, he gives him this message. He says, you will encounter hardships on your way, but don't despair. You will reach the far-off land if you keep hope alive within you. And so now the Jumping Mouse has this new ability. So now as he's on the other side, now he can jump everywhere, which actually allows him to move a little faster and a little further than he could with his little legs just crawling along. And so he jumps, as the story says, from bush to bush, and he stopped and ate berries where he could find them. And he waited, he slept only when he was exhausted, because he was so determined to get to this far off land that he didn't want to stop and wait. But when he was exhausted, he slept. And, in that time, he began to wonder, will I make it to the desert? I don't know if you've had that experience. We just talked about, are we there yet, earlier? That you've taken risks in your life. You've moved off like that young mouse and decided to go off to the far off land. You've acquired new abilities and you found out there are things you can do that you didn't know you could do, and you never would have known that except you taken this step. But have you ever felt a little weary even at that place along the journey? Yes, yes? And so, as he's continuing from that place, feeling a little weary, he comes to a stream, which is beautiful because at this point in the story, he's actually crossing through the desert. And so he finds an oasis in the desert. And as he comes to the stream, he sees that there's a fat old mouse living under a berry bush. And so because he's really tired and not just physically tired, but even mentally tired, because he's like, I don't know if I'm going to make this. And, home is so far away now, but, maybe I could go back. Maybe it won't be that bad. Maybe people won't talk about me if I just go back to the regular old thing. But he asks this fat old mouse, he says, may I rest here a while? And the conversation goes like this. The fat mouse answers, indeed. In fact, you may stay here forever. Jumping Mouse says, thank you, but I'll only need to stay until I'm rested. I've seen the far off land in my dreams, and I must be on my way as soon as I'm able. The fat mouse answers, dreams? I used to have such dreams, but all I ever found was desert. Why go jumping around the desert when everything anyone needs is right here? Jumping Mouse tried to explain that it wasn't a question of need, but something he felt he had to do. And this is that calling that we're talking about. When there's something within you that's saying, let me out. Can you hear the call of life calling you to more? It's not a matter of need, but you feel like there's something you must do. There's something that's driving you. There's something within you that is calling you. That is the inner being. That is God within you saying you are more than what you are experiencing. The unlimited within you wants to express its unlimited nature through, in, and as you. That's that thing that Jumping Mouse was talking about. And so he takes the time, he rests, and the fat mouse warns him. He gives him a warning. He says, there's a snake on the other side of the stream, but he says, don't worry about it because the snake is afraid of water, so he'll never come across. We're good, right? And so the story goes on. It says that life under the berry bush was good. They had berries, they could eat, they were by the stream, they could drink. And so they slept and ate and slept and ate and got comfortable and slept and ate and got a little more comfortable and slept and ate and dug a deeper hole by the stream under the berry bush and slept and ate. Has anybody ever experienced that in your life? You got really comfortable. You had left home, right? Because of a dream. You had left home because of the tale of a new possibility, a far off land. You had left home because you heard and felt within you that there was more that was possible as you. And you went along the way and you developed new abilities like Jumping Mouse. You became a Jumping Mouse. You developed a new ability and you move along and you find someone else on your journey and they help you. But then it got comfortable. And you slept and ate and slept and ate and slept and ate. And so as the story goes along, the Jumping Mouse wakes up one morning. He wants to go get a drink and he goes to the stream and he sees his reflection in the stream. And he realizes that he looks almost exactly like the fat old mouse that he had originally encountered. Because in all that time, he had gotten comfortable. He had gained a lot of weight. He had become lethargic. He had become lazy. He had almost forgotten about his dream. But as he saw his reflection, he says this, it's time for me to go on. I didn't come all this way to settle under a berry bush. And I love that about life. This is the call of life. No matter where you are in the story, no matter which stage you're in, there's a moment where life is constantly trying to show you your reflection, to show you where you may have gotten just a little bit too comfortable and forgotten about the dream or goal or vision that you originally set off for. There's a moment in life where you get to see your reflection as a partner. You get to see your reflection as a boss. You went to a job for a certain amount of time to accomplish a certain thing, and now you're having trouble with your boss and you don't know why. But see, this is just like the young mouse. This is just like the jumping mouse seeing his reflection in the stream. It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you to this boss that's getting on my last nerves. You're reminding me I had a dream. There was a tale of a far off land, and this was just a stop along the journey. I got comfortable. But that's not why I came here. I didn't come here to settle under a berry bush. And so the mouse, he's ready to leave. But as he's ready to leave, he notices that there was a branch that fell over the stream. And he realizes that that branch is big enough for the snake to now get across the stream. And so he's terrified, and he goes back to warn his friend, the fat old mouse. But by the time he gets back there, he's already gone. The snake had already eaten the fat old mouse. Now, this is symbolic. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to be eaten by a snake. But we recognize that when we get settled, when we get so comfortable and let go of our dreams, eventually you die without ever knowing what the possibility of that was. Eventually, that sense of being lazy and forgetting about your dreams and being lethargic and getting comfortable and settled, eventually that eats you up. It eats you alive. I've seen so many people in this life that gave up on their dreams and so they become bitter, right? That bitterness many times turns into diseases. And we wonder why they left at such an early age. Oh, it was so young. Oh, it's tragic. But if you look at the story, you recognize that somewhere along the way, as the symbols in here, they got settled. They got too comfortable. And so the snakes of life will show up. That bitterness will turn into something that will eventually take you out of this life. But the jumping mouse, he moved on. And he was probably even more determined now. And so the story says that he traveled through the night, and the next morning he comes across something that's groaning. He thought it was a mountain. It was so huge. But as he got closer to it, he realized that it was a bison. And the bison is groaning and moaning. And he's like, what's wrong with you? You sound like you're dying. And the bison says, well, yes, I am dying. I'm dying because I cannot see. And because I cannot see, I can't find food. And, because I couldn't see, I actually went to a stream of water that was poisoned. And I didn't know it was poisoned, and so I drank it, and now I feel terrible, and I'm going to die. And so the mouse says, well, maybe I can help. Because, when I was along my journey, I came across a magic frog, and the magic frog helped me, and that's how I got my name, Jumping Mouse, because he gave me these jumping feet. She gave me these jumping feet. And so maybe there's something I can do. I don't think my magic is as powerful as the magic mouse, but what if I give you a new name, just like I was given a new name? I'm going to call you Eyes of a Mouse. And so according to the story, magically, the mouse, jumping mouse, loses his eyesight and gives his eyesight to the bison. And so the bison is grateful and thankful, right? And so the bison says, well, if you sit underneath me in my shadow, that'll protect you so nothing can harm you, and I will guide you. I'll guide you through the plains and get you to the mountain, right? And so they take that journey because the jumping mouse can hear. So following the sound of the footsteps of the bison, jumping mouse is able to stay under the bison and get to the mountain. And so then they get to the mountain, and bison says, well, I'm an animal of the plains. I don't do mountains, can't do mountains, right? I can't lead you any further, but, I wish you Godspeed. And also bison asks a question. Bison asks a question, well, what are you going to do next? Like, how are you going to get across the mountain? And Jumping Mouse answers with a simple statement and says, there will be a way. So Jumping Mouse is trying to figure out how to move through the mountain and comes across a wolf. And as it comes across the wolf, initially Jumping Mouse is a little scared because it's a little mouse and a big wolf, right? Huffing and puffing, blowing the house down. Right? And so they have a conversation. And the mouse asks the wolf, well, who are you? Oh, I'm a wolf, right? And the wolf is pretty sad as well because the wolf can no longer smell. And that wolf needs its sense of smell to be able to move around and do the things that wolves do. And so again, in his compassionate state, Jumping Mouse says, well, you know what? I have a little bit of magic left. Magic Frog helped me. I got my jumping feet. That's why I'm Jumping Mouse. And I was able to help the bison. I renamed the bison Eyes of a Mouse. And so maybe I can help you. I'll give you a new name. I'm going to call you Nose of a Mouse. And immediately, Jumping Mouse now loses his sense of smell, and it goes to the wolf. And so now you have Jumping Mouse who cannot see or smell. And Wolf promises to help Jumping Mouse in the same way that the bison did. Stay underneath me and hop along. Listen to the sound of my paws moving across the mountains, and I'll get you across safely. And so Nose of a Mouse and Jumping Mouse, they move through the mountains safely. But again, there's this question, because the far-off land is still ahead, and Wolf asks, well, how will you manage? I mean, you can't see now, you can't smell, you're a little mouse. I mean, I know you have your cute little jumping feet, and that was wonderful, right? But there's still more to go. What are you going to do? And Jumping Mouse answers with just the simple phrase, there will be a way. That's a powerful affirmation. I don't know what you're experiencing in and as your life right now, what stage of the journey you're on, with the bison or the wolf, through the mountains, through the desert, wherever you may be. But what if you just say to yourself, when the question comes, how will you manage? Because you can't see and you don't have a sense of smell. You may have seen things may have changed. Maybe, how will you manage? You know, you don't have the money that you used to have. You used to have a high-paying six-figure job, and you made the decision to go out and do something different. How are you going to manage now? You can't do what you used to do. You used to be able to just pay for it like that, and it was no problem. How will you manage? But you can say the words with assurance, as Jumping Mouse says, there will be a way. But in truth, at this moment, Jumping Mouse was starting to feel despair. I mean, wouldn't you? You can't see. You can't smell. All you have is hope about this place that you heard of in a story. You've never seen it. Jumping Mouse was feeling really bad and started to cry. And just as Jumping Mouse started to cry, a voice said, "Don't cry, Jumping Mouse. Your unselfish spirit has brought you great hardship, but it is that same spirit of hope and compassion that has brought you to the far-off land. You have nothing to fear, Jumping Mouse." That voice was Magic Frog. She showed up yet again right when Jumping Mouse needed Magic Frog. And so Jumping Mouse begins to dry his tears and kind of get himself together. And then there's a command that comes from Magic Frog. Magic Frog says, "Jump high, Jumping Mouse." It was a command. And the story says this. It says, Jumping Mouse did as he was told and jumped as high as he could. Then he felt the air lifting him higher, still into the sky. He stretched out his paws, and the sun felt strangely powerful. To his joy, he began to see the wondrous beauty of the world above and below, and to smell the scent of earth and sky and living things. "Jumping Mouse," he heard Magic Frog called out, "I give you a new name. You are now called Eagle." You are now called Eagle. And so this is titled The Story of Jumping Mouse, but if the Native Americans were telling it, it would probably be how the eagle came to be. Recognizing that the eagle, even as it is a symbol of our very country, the United States, the eagle is a powerful, majestic being. The way an eagle can soar and fly through the sky, it's amazing. And so what if this journey that you're on, just like Jumping Mouse is, you think it's a journey to go off to this far off land. You think it's a journey for money. You think it's a journey for the perfect relationship. You think it's a journey for a career. You think it's a journey to lose weight. You think it's a journey for all these things. But what if in the process, the me that is calling to come out is the eagle that's within you? I was reminded this week in closing that this week we had a new moon on Thursday. The new moon in Scorpio. Many of you, I'm sure, are aware of it. And I was reading some things from different astrologers about it. And on that particular new moon, we also had a solar eclipse. And one astrologer writes this. It says that this alignment disrupts the usual flow of solar energy. dissolving old energy and behavior patterns so something new can manifest. Now, what's interesting is, because this is in Scorpio, Scorpio rules truth and emotional truth. Scorpio is one of the most powerful signs in the zodiac. Scorpio is the eagle. The eagle will soar above the drama where many folks are entangled. This detachment provides Scorpios the ability to see the big picture. This empowers them to get to the source of the problem. The phoenix is the highest level of Scorpio. It is a magical bird. The phoenix rises from the ashes of the past to be born again. And for those of you that may remember in our message, A New Heaven and a New Earth, we were dealing with astrotheology. And if you go back to the book of Revelation, Revelation 4:7, you see this description that I saw a face that looked like a man, and I saw a bird that looked like an eagle. And we recognized that that was actually an astrological symbol, because Scorpio was first known as an eagle. It can also be known as a snake, and then, of course, as the scorpion. But the most ancient sources always referred back to Scorpio as an eagle, and I thought it wasn't a coincidence that we're in this moment. This is all the Scorpios. Shout out to the Scorpios. This is where we are, right? We're in the season of Scorpio. And we have this new moon that occurred in Scorpio. But not only the new moon, it was a solar eclipse, recognizing that this is about dissolving the old energy, dissolving the limiting beliefs, allowing for something new to manifest. But what's more powerful is we're in the energy of the eagle. And we've just gone through the story of how the eagle comes to be. We're in the energy of the eagle, recognizing that when you're the eagle, you can see the whole picture. You're not bogged down in the limited details of the story, but you can see it all and see how it all fits together. And that is why we can sing all of life is a movement toward our wholeness. Because we recognize that there's a perfect plan. We recognize that there's perfection in the story. There's perfection even in the story where Jumping Mouse loses his sight and his nose. We see the perfection of it. We see how it was all necessary. We see how every single step, even when he got lethargic, even when he got lazy, even when he was hanging out with the fat old mouse longer than he should have, we see how it was all necessary, because he was able to be shocked back into what was true when he saw his reflection and moved back on the journey again, and then met new friends, the bison, a new friend, the wolf. And then just when he needed, Magic Frog showed up and reminded him, gave him a new name. You are no longer Jumping Mouse. I call you Eagle. In that moment, in this moment, let us stand, let us stand. I call you Eagle. I invite you this week to just look into that a little bit. See what the Native Americans say about eagles. Just even look at just the life of the eagle, how powerful and majestic it is, why there has been such a movement to try to preserve the eagle population. We're actually in a place now in America where we have more eagles than we've had in a very long time. It is a powerful symbol for us. I would even say, as we look at how we want to try to make sure that there are enough eagles on the earth physically, it's because we recognize that the eagle within us, that majestic, powerful symbol, must be expressed. It must be expressed. And so as we affirm and know that the eagle population is in abundance, so that very same power and majesty and symbolism that dwells within you is abundant. Mother, Father, God, I am grateful, 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 grateful to be in the midst of these people, these powerful creative beings who are the individualized expression of you. And I know you to be unlimited. I know you to be abundance itself. I know you to be love itself. I know you to be peace itself. And as I know you to be these things and so much more, I know that they must be. And I hear the call. I hear the call for my life, and we hear the call for our individual lives. We hear the call even for our city and for our country and for our world, calling us to more, calling us to be and embody peace, calling us to be and embody love, calling us to be great on the earth. Yes, there is something powerful within each and every one of us, and it is knocking on our door. Open it up. There may be some adversity, there may be some hardships, there may be perilous times ahead, but you recognize, as Jumping Mouse recognized, there will be a way. Hold on to that truth. Let that hope guide you. There will be a way. Because the how is not up to us. The how is in the hands of the universe. It brings it forward. It brings it to us. It brings it through us easily and effortlessly every time. And so now we release these words today, oh my God, with a new determination to move forward in our story, to keep moving towards that far off land, recognizing that that very process is the thing that will transform us, give us a new name. And yes, we shall stand and live and embrace this earth as mighty eagles. We are grateful for that energy and we are grateful for this word. So we release these words now back into you. And together we say, amen, amen. Ashe, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you, God.